story prior, the essay prior was so emotional. I was trying to come back before I start reading. So my piece is called Artiste. I've written about this topic before, but this is the first time I've written in essay form. So this is just about childhood dreams. It was the era of Mariah Carey's fantasy, latchkey kids, high top Fila's, Beanie Babies, Nickelodeon, Space Jam, Lisa Frank, and Kobe taking Brandy to prom. It was the late 90s, and basketball was the game of life. After school and on the weekends was when the neighborhood would play. The panging sound of a basketball smacking against the street made kids rise from their beds on the weekends and rush through homework to shoot a few more hoops before it got too dark to see the net. When your friend across the cul-de-sac got a hoop for Christmas, it was already decided that you'd move your hoop across from his. Now it was full court and your level of skill would advance. Your skills were taught to you by Nick and Donald, the boys who lived on the street, who played horse since they were in diapers and could cross you up while you blinked. When you first moved into the big white house, you'd watch them play from the porch because you didn't know much about the game. But slowly, you started creeping closer to them every day until they invited you to play, and you hid your excitement, trying to be cool. The ball felt foreign in your hands like a giant grapefruit or a beach ball. Dribbling was tough. The boys would yell travel every time the ball was accidentally carried and double dribble every time both hands touched the ball at the same time. But soon, the ball was just an extension of the arm, another appendage, an additional muscle with which to slam, swish, and shoot buckets from all over the paint. Granny shots were a thing of the past because now you were nothing but net, and you knew how to drop buckets. Some weekends, your court would be taken over by the big kids, the teenagers. They were all boys, and they'd play shirts versus skins. The end of a broom was used to push your net to regulation height because this was serious play. The real deal. Your dad hated when the older kids would borrow the hoop because he had just started to notice your newfound passion and wanted the hoop to stay in pristine condition just for you. At the dinner table, your dad would tell the story of when he fell in love with the game 20 years earlier and how his mom never let him play aggressive sports. His mom, your grandma, only let him play solitary sports like tennis or golf. You and your little brothers felt bad for him, especially when the steak knife in his hand would glide back and forth through the meat on his plate as if he were playing a weeping violin, as he relived the bitter memory of his basketball days. One day, Grandpa told me he had noticed I was playing basketball more often. He made me a deal that if I practiced enough, I could try out for the basketball team and he'd buy me a brand new pair of high-top sneakers. I was so excited. I practiced and practiced, but I was shorter than all the other boys and my love for the game was greater than my ability. I didn't make the team, and Grandpa never bought me those sneakers. The dinner table was silent in honor of the sneakers Dad never had. Your dad's hoop dreams became your hoop dreams, and shortly after that was when the basketball goal was bought for the driveway. For a few months up until Christmas that year, you'd been borrowing a ball to play with from the neighbor boys, but Santa was paying attention that year and left a Spalding ball under the tree wrapped up with a bow just for you. The Spalding ball was the first of its kind. A regulation WNBA basketball that was 28.5 inches around, just an inch smaller than the NBA balls. The orange and white stripes of the rubber smelled freshly processed, and the ball was slippery in your hands from having never met the street. You couldn't wait to introduce the two of them, and you suited up in a starter jacket as soon as possible. Nick and Donald teased you about the ball. It was so small they could palm it with one hand. They took turns dunking the ball into the hoop, and when you won the game of horse that day, they called you out for cheating because your ball was smaller than theirs. Mom signed you up for a rec league, and the competition was on. The team sponsor was a junkyard, and the team's name was the Hubcaps. The coach made you a power forward, and sometimes you played center. Tiara was the point guard, and she could sprint down the court like a cheetah. The coach couldn't remember your name and called you Artiste. But you didn't care. She'd yell, Artiste, if you broke away down the court with a rebound, and soon the name caught on. Your dad started calling you that around the house, and Artiste became your secret baller name. The sports section of the newspaper was publishing articles about the WNBA more often now, and you'd cut articles and pictures of Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie to paste on the covers of your notebooks. You knew that one day, Artiste would join the ranks of these super tall chicks who could ball better than these neighborhood boys. You knew that one day, you wouldn't be sitting on the itchy grass. Thank you.